Hi, and welcome to Where the Wild Things Are. I'm your host, Jeff DeLong. On today's show, we're going to be seeing the hippopotamus, and we're going to be celebrating the pig, hence the nose. So stay tuned. I'm such a ham. Hi, and welcome to Where the Wild Things Are. We're here with Joni Miskowski, who is the lead keeper, one of the lead keepers here at the zoo. Joni, thanks again for being on the show with us today. And today we're talking about big animals. When I mean big, this is one of the largest animals I've ever seen. It's the hippopotamus amphibius. Is that the correct Latin name? That's the
correct Latin name.
Now, where are hippopotamuses normally found?
They're found in South Africa, along the Nile and associated waterways.
Now, associated waterways meaning rivers, tributaries, creeks, and so forth?
Yeah.
Now, do they live mostly in the water or on land?
Well, they do both. You look at the animal and it seems very ungainly, very large, but they do quite well out of the water. The only problem is they need the water to maintain their own body waters. They dehydrate very quickly. So during the day when the sun's out and it's hot, they stay in the water, and in the evening when the sun goes down, then they come up, and that's when they do most of their eating and grazing.
So the sun is really harmful to these animals' skin.
It can be. They do produce their own oily lacquer that protects their skin from the sun.
Now, was that the reddish kind of like secretion that I saw on it?
Right.
And that acts as like a sunscreen.
Exactly.
So it's a big animal that produces its own sunscreen.
Yeah.
Now, in the wild, you say they feed at night. Do they feed in the water or they feed on land?
They do both. They eat some of the reeds and things that go along the water, but they're primarily grass eaters. So they would eat when they're out of the water and away from the water.
I see. Now, how much food, how much grasslands, how much plant matter does it take to feed a typical hippo?
Surprisingly, they eat little compared to the other large mammals. The elephant eats about 3 times as much as a hippo does. A hippo only needs about 80 pounds of grasses to maintain their body weight.
A day?
A day.
That's still a lot of grass. Yeah. More than one more. But now the hippos in southern Africa, there are 2 types of hippos here at the zoo, though.
Right.
What type of hippos do we have here? We exhibit both. We have the Nile hippo, which has a much wider range. The pygmy hippo is a forest-dwelling animal and is found primarily in the Congo and in Nigeria. I see. Now the hippos, the other animal we're doing on the show today is the pig, and I noticed one thing when I was reading through both the animals, that they exhibit a very similar behavior. The pigs will wallow in mud to keep cool. Do hippos do the same thing?
The hippos will do the same thing if they have access to mud. They will do that. It protects their skin from the sun.
Just to keep them cool, then?
Keep them cool and keep them from drying out.
Now, because they're such large animals, do they need to travel in large groups, or are they pretty solitary?
They don't need to. They don't have any natural predators outside of man. Their size protects them, but they are very social animals, and you usually find them in groups of 12 or larger, up to maybe 150, 200 animals if the body of water is large enough to maintain that many.
Now, do they migrate along a certain path, or do they stay in one area all year long?
They generally stay in one area. The only migrating would be associated with drought situations where they have to seek out a new source of water.
Well, that goes for almost any animals that live in Africa,
right,
because the area is so prone to drought. Now, you were telling me earlier that they have no natural predators. What happens to like lions and tigers? They don't go after the hippos?
They won't go after an adult hippo. If they should find a baby hippo that's separated from its mother, they might consider taking it. But that's very unlikely because the babies stick very closely to the females. And because they are in family situations, there's usually a lot of large hippos around to protect the babies.
Well, you see, the hippos to me, they've always seemed very docile, very quiet. But that's not always the case, you said.
No, in the wild, when they have a lot of area and a lot of room to get away from people, they're considered docile animals. They aren't really aggressive. If you startle them, they may defend themselves, and consequently you would get hurt. In the captive situation, they can't really get away from us as easily, so they're a little more aggressive.
Now, I was watching the keeper before. He was putting out the feed for him, and I don't know if the camera can see this, but this is what the hippo eats. What is in this melange here?
There's a low-fiber alfalfa pellet. There's token amounts of bread, which is more of a treat than anything. And then there's some fruits and vegetables. Their primary diet is hay. They each eat a bale of hay, 80 pounds of hay a day.
So they are herbivores. They don't eat any sort of meat. They eat only plants and stuff.
No.
Now, Joni, what are the names of the 2 hippos here at the zoo? Okay, the two Nile hippos are named Hansel, he's 38 years old, and Wicket, who's 24.
Now, you told me there's a relationship between these two hippos.
Now, Wicket is one of Hansel's offspring. He came to us at a very young age. He was wild caught.
Hansel was caught in the wild and he was brought here to the zoo, but Wicket was born in captivity here at Brookfield
Right.
Zoo. Well, I look forward to finding out more about Hansel and Wicket, and I hope you'll stay tuned to find out more, too, on where the wild things are. Stay tuned.
Excellent movies this season. Just you wait.
BB is a happy dog, and he doesn't ask for much. A little petting, a little snack, a tree with that special smell. And once a year, BB likes to watch television, and of course, it's the Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show. BB knows he'll never be a champion. For one thing, he's missing a tooth, and that automatically disqualifies him. But hey, a dog can dream, can't he? The Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show on USA.
Talking a little bit more. Hi, and thanks for staying with us. We're here at the Pachyderm House at Brookfield Zoo with Joni Miskowski. Now, Joni, pachyderm, what does pachyderm mean?
Pachyderm means thick-skinned.
And the hippo has a thick skin?
Yes, it does. It's about 1 inch to 3 inches thick.
That's a lot of skin.
That's a lot.
Now, it's not fat skin. I mean, these animals aren't fat. They're fairly muscular because they swim so much.
There's a lot of body fat there.
There is.
Yeah.
So that's how they stay buoyant in the water?
It is. Yeah.
Fat keeps you buoyant.
Fat keeps you buoyant. In the water, they're weightless, and they move very well.
Now, that is true for the Nile hippo, which is much larger. What about the pygmy hippo?
Relatively speaking, it's the same situation. It's just a smaller version.
Now, does the pygmy hippo spend as much time in the water as the Nile hippo?
No, it doesn't have to, because it's a forest-dwelling animal. It isn't exposed to the dry climate or the beating sun, so it doesn't require as much water time.
Does it also have that secretion that protects it?
Yes, it does.
Is it same as the Nile hippos?
It is. It's a little darker. The pygmy hippo has a red secretion. The Nile hippo has a pink secretion. That's where the old adage that hippos sweat blood came from. It's this.
Ah, okay. I know P.T. Barnum made that phrase very famous. Now, the pygmy hippo, does it live in the same areas as the Nile hippos? Will they share a territory?
No, they very rarely. They wouldn't come together, let's put it that way. They come from two different environments.
Now, something else that you were telling me earlier that was very interesting about the hippo, they live in a very interesting relationship with other creatures, almost a symbiotic relationship where one feeds off of the other and they help each other out. What are those animals?
There are several species of birds, oxpeckers and egrets, that are associated with the hippos.
Now, oxpeckers and egrets are birds.
Right, exactly. The oxpeckers will perch directly on the hippos and pick off parasites when they're out of the water. The egrets will use the hippos as perches to fish. When the hippo's underwater and their back is standing out a little bit, the egret will perch on their back.
So the egret just uses the back as a hippo, like a diving platform to go fishing.
Little hippo island.
It floats around, you can eat the fish out of the water.
Right, exactly.
Well, it works out good for the hippo and for the egrets, it sounds like.
Yes.
Now, the oxpeckers, do they actually go inside and...
Well, they will pick things out of the ears and out of the mouth when the animals yawn.
So the hippo will just open up his mouth, the oxpecker will sit there and just
take care of those little tooth problems.
Like a little flying dentist for the hippo.
Right, exactly.
Kind of interesting. Now, there's another kind of fish.
There are several fish that utilize the hippo. They will both pick parasites off of the hippo, and they will attach themselves to the hippo to move about in the water and to get to different feeding areas.
But they're not harmful to the hippo as well.
No, not at all.
Now, here's our star right now. Which hippo is this?
This is Wicket, the female.
That's Wicket? Mm-hmm. Now, she's camera shy.
Yes.
She took one look and turned around and left. Yeah. Hopefully she'll be coming back. Now, the hippos are not endangered in the wild.
No, they're not, but they're in a situation where they're threatened because the growing human population is encroaching on their natural habitat. Anytime you put up dams or restrict the flow of a waterway, you're going to affect animals like the hippopotamus.
Now, are there dam projects for power hydroelectric or just irrigation?
Both.
So any sort of influence on the water system that they live in has a dramatic effect on the hippo and can indeed endanger it.
Yes. Consequently, the hippo and any other animals associated with that waterway.
Now, the hippo, you said, also it fits in very well with its ecosystem. It's very important to the ecosystem. In what way?
Well, behaviorally, the hippopotamuses mark their territory with feces. When they defecate, they flip their tail back and forth. It's shaped like a little paddle, and that spreads the feces throughout the area. Their feces is very mineral and nutrient rich.
So it acts as a fertilizer for the area.
Right, exactly. It encourages vegetative growth, which consequently the fish and the birds and the other animals benefit from. You eliminate the hippo and you eliminate a lot of good fertilizer.
And that would be very tragic for a poor situation.
Yeah.
Well, Julie, I want to thank you again for being with us on this show. I hope you'll be with us again, telling us about Hansel and Wicked and the pygmy hippos here at the zoo. And we hope you'll stay tuned because we're going to be up with another animal, the pig. See you later.
What happens when a strange doctor tries to cheat death? When amateur exorcists get in over their heads? When a haunted cat turns into a big problem? Or when a student finds herself trapped on a bizarre train? The endings may surprise you. Every day, a new horror. Every night, a new nightmare. Every day, another shocking adventure into the unknown on Tales from the Dark Side and Night Gallery.
Check it out. This is the Nicktoons, new tunes, not just any cartoon. Doug, Rugrats, and the Rent and Stimpy Show, yo. Here we go, because we got a lot in store. We got a chubby cat, a skinny dog, a chilly dog, a get along, a bully, or a baby in a diaper getting hyper like Doug Funny, dreaming of his honey patted mayonnaise. Listen to what I say. I'm talking about the slick tunes, sick tunes, the one you gotta pick tunes. Yo, I'm talking about the one and only Nicktoons.
Hi, and thanks for staying with us. This is Where the Wild Things Are. And we're at the Children's Zoo, and we're going to be talking to Teresa Skinner. Teresa, how you doing?
Hi, doing fine.
Now tell us, we've got a very special event coming up here at the zoo. It is called?
National Pig Day.
National Pig Day. And we are here with Oreo, the pig.
That's right. She's an Ossabaw Island pig. She's right behind us.
Now, where's Ossabaw Island?
That's actually an island off the coast of Georgia.
And this is where the only place where Oreo's kind of pig is found.
That's right. They're native there. They actually came over in the 1600s with Spanish explorers, and some were released and they ran wild, and they were able to survive for the last 300, 400 years.
So this is a wild pig?
Mm-hmm. It's called a feral pig or wild pig.
Mm-hmm. Feral meaning wild.
Right. And one of the unusual things about them is that Oreo is slightly diabetic, and that's with all Ossabaw Island pigs. And that makes them interesting for scientists to study because they've learned to adapt on their own in the wild and regulate their insulin. So that makes it very interesting.
So because they've been isolated on this island for so long.
Right, and somehow they've managed to regulate their metabolism.
Now Pig Day. This is March 1st, 1993. Now the pigs here, how many pigs do you have here at the Children's Zoo?
We have two. We have Oreo, the one we were just talking about, and then we have Tango, who's a Yucatan miniature pig.
Now what's the differences between these two pigs?
Well, Tango is a little smaller than Oreo. She's also a solid kind of blackish gray color, and she comes from, natively, her kind of pig comes from the Yucatan Peninsula down in Mexico.
Now I looked at Tango, and Tango is very smooth skinned. Oreo is it's furry, he's a hairy pig.
That's right, and you can see that they've adapted to where they live. Tango has very few hairs at all. That's because she's from where it's very hot and tropical, out in the sun all the time, so she doesn't have to worry about the hair to keep her warm. Oreo here, on the other hand, has real rough hairs on her, and that helps protect her out when she's out in the wild in the brush on that island off of Georgia.
Now, pigs, I know, are a very old domesticated animal. They've been in farmyards for a very long time, and we get a variety of things from them. But are the misconceptions about pigs that they're sloppy, that they overeat? Now, are these actual things, or are they misconceptions?
They are very definitely misconceptions, and that's one of the things we are very happy to have National Pig Day, because they are very intelligent animals, very clean animals, and we like to put all those good points about them across, because people do have a lot of misconceptions.
Now, pigs, when you say they're smart, now how do you determine if a pig is smart? I mean, do you give them an IQ test, Rorschach drawings, what is it?
It is hard. A lot of people, it's hard to measure intelligence from species versus species, but most people think that pigs are the smartest of the barnyard animals for sure. If you come to our shows in the summertime, you'll see Oreo and Tango. They do all kind of things. They jump over hurdles. They retrieve
Now,
objects.
Oreo's in the Animals in Action show here at the Children's Zoo,
right,
and she will exhibit behaviors, and you're going to show us some of those behaviors a little bit later.
That's right.
Now, one of the first things I noticed about Oreo when we sat down here, I was sniffing a maple syrup, and I had a taste for waffles. Now, you told me that's Oreo?
That's right. She naturally has that scent because of her body condition and that her insulin condition. It gives her that sweet smelling.
So she smells like maple syrup all the time. That's incredible. Now, Tango doesn't have that similar kind of scent.
No, she doesn't smell really much of anything.
Now, what are these pigs used for? I mean, they're obviously domesticated animals. Are they raised as a food source, or are they raised for other reasons?
These guys are not, like I said, Oreo is a wild pig, so she's not really used in a domestic sense. Tango is a smaller pig, and they're not really used as a food source because they are the smaller. They're used more for, like, what we're doing is for demonstration purposes and to show how intelligent they are.
I see. Now, how long have these pigs been here at the zoo?
We've had, Oreo is about 8 years old. She's been here since she was a couple months old, and Tango is just turned 2, and she's been here since she was 11 days old.
I see. Now, the pigs are a member of what family?
They're from the Suidae family, and they're related to other things such as peccaries, if you may have seen those. But there are about 87 breeds of pigs, so there are a lot of different breeds of pigs.
That's very different. Not all of them are domesticated, or some of them wild?
Right, domestic and wild.
Okay. Now, National Pig Day, this is strictly for domesticated pigs or any type of pig in the Suidae family?
For everything, yeah.
Now, does Suidae, is that where they get the words when they're calling the pigs Suidae?
It could be. It could be. I'm not really sure where that came from, but that's a phrase that's been used for a long time for calling pigs.
Well, Teresa, I want to find out more about the pigs and Pig Day after these messages.
Every Saturday, the Learning Channel helps you get things done. Looking to whip up a fabulous meal? We've got the right recipes and cooks who know their way around the kitchen. Got a home repair project you can put off no longer? We'll show you the right tools to use and the best way to use them. Ready to restore a precious antique? We'll strip away the mystery and tell you what's worth saving. Saturday afternoons on the Learning Channel.
Friday night is Fam TV with a teen who's lean, mean,
and a dream.
Prince Valiant. And here's the show with a wet nose. That's my dog.
It's a miracle!
The kids want to run this show, but they hit a wall called Big Brother Jake. And you think your house is twisted? Get a load of Maniac Mansion.
Friday night is Fam TV.
Hi, and welcome back to Where the Wild Things Are. We're here with Teresa Skinner at the Children's Zoo at Brookfield Zoo, and Teresa's telling us about pigs. Now, we've talked about Oreo, we've talked about Tango. Now, the other behaviors, or the other misconceptions about pigs, that they're dirty, that they live in a pigsty, because I know that's what my mother used to call my room when I was growing up. Are pigs that messy?
No, not at all. They're actually extremely clean animals, and that's another reason we want to celebrate the pig. A lot of people think of them as rolling in a dirty mud puddle and, you know, being really messy and filthy, and that's not true at all. They're actually very bright because they don't sweat like you and I do. They don't have many sweat glands at all. So in order to cool their body temperature off, they'll roll into either clean water, which they prefer if there's clean water, or they'll roll into the mud. And the mud also acts sort of as a sunscreen. Just like we put on sunscreen to protect us from sunburn, the pigs use the mud to protect their skin.
We were just talking with Joey Muskowski about the hippopotamus, and I think that's a behavior that the two animals share, that because their skin is that sensitive that they have to protect it. The hippo secretes something, the pig rolls around the mud and puts something on, much like we do when we go out in the sun. Except I don't think I'd be putting on SPF 14 mud. I'd rather put sun lotion on. Now, what other behaviors exhibited in the pig show how intelligent they are?
Well, they do a lot of different things. What we try to do here in the children's zoo and in our animals in action shows, we like to use their natural abilities and use them in a way in our shows to entertain and also inform people, most importantly. And one of the natural behaviors a pig has is they like to root in the ground and look for food, things to eat. And so we use that behavior for, in Oreo's case, she likes to play basketball with her nose. She pushes a ball through a hoop. And Tango, what she does is we get a recycling message across because she pushes an empty Coke 2-liter bottle into a recycling bin.
Oh, that's terrific. Animals are showing us how to conserve and, and be more sensitive to the environment and recycling. Now, Oreo does some other things. I saw the show, and she's a very agile animal. She jumps over hurdles, and she even lifts weights, too.
That's right. That's another thing. They're very agile, as you said. She does have a hurdle. She jumps over. She retrieves a retrieving object. She does a scent discrimination, which is another important ability that they have. They have an extremely strong sense of smell. And so what we do is we put a lot of different articles out on the ground, and we rub our scent on one of them and put that in the middle, and she can pick it out from all the other ones just by the scent, say, of my hand.
So it's almost like a bloodhound. Well, that's terrific. Now, do pets make good pets?
Do pigs make good pets?
Pigs make good pets. Excuse me. Pets make very good pets, but do pigs make good pets?
They actually do. If you have the room and the space for them, they make excellent pets. Like I said, they're very clean and very intelligent, and especially if you're out, like let's say, on a farm with a lot of room, they'd be excellent pets.
I know there's been a lot of press time given these days to the pot-bellied pig. And but Oreo wouldn't make a good house pet because he's so large.
Right, she's large, and
it's a she.
Right, she's a she, and that's the main reason you wouldn't be. She'd need a lot of room to run around.
Now, when a pig gives birth, how many piglets are there usually in a litter?
They usually have about 8 to 10 in a litter.
Now, do they breed just once a year, or?
Usually twice a year they can breed.
Okay. Now, what sort of events do you have planned for Pig Day here?
Okay, we've got all kinds of things going on. We're going to have a pig calling contest for children and adults. It was very popular last year, where everybody can make up their own kind of pig calling, and we'll have give out little awards for that. And then we're going to have special pink pig lemonade and cake.
Pink pig lemonade.
Try saying that 3 times
I'm
fast.
not about to try it. You did just fine on your own.
And then we'll be showing Charlotte's Web in the Discovery Center probably a couple times during the day, and that's another popular movie with a pig in it. And then we'll be doing also the pig demonstrations for both Oreo and Tango. Will be showing off their special skills and abilities.
Now, these are the same behaviors we were just talking about that they do in the Animal in Action show. And when is Pig Day again?
March 1st.
March 1st. Now, do people have to make reservations to come see Pig Day?
No, just come on in just like the regular admission. We'll be posting exactly the times a little later when we get everything finalized, but that's just normal admission.
Now, how long has Pig Day been celebrated?
It started back in 1972. Actually, 2 sisters who grew up loving pigs started sort of like a family celebration, and it spread to the neighborhood and then eventually across the country.
Now, Brookfield Zoo celebrates Pig Day here. Do other zoos across the country celebrate Pig Day?
A few do, but not too many. We're one of the first to do it, and we get calls from all over the country, even Canada.
Now, you said that the pig isn't a dirty animal. Actually, it's a very smart animal and likes to stay clean. Do they overeat? They say that people eat like a pig.
And that's another very bad misconception. That's not true at all. Actually, pigs are very particular in their likes and dislikes. They'll like some things and not like other things at all. So they're not going to eat everything that you put in front of them. Also, they're not going to overeat like a lot of animals, say horses or cows. They'll just keep eating until they're sick. Pigs won't do that. They're very, like I said, very intelligent. They'll eat as much as they want, and then that'll be it.
Now, you said the pig has a very sensitive sense of smell. How does it help it in the wild, or how does this behavior help them?
That's very important, because if they're out in the wild, what mainly feral or wild pigs eat, they'll eat things like roots and berries and worms and things like that, and so things that they need to find around the ground, and they'll even eat like the roots down under the ground, so that sense of smells helps them pick out the things that they need to eat.
Terrific. Well, Teresa, thank you for filling us in on the pigs here at Brookfield Zoo. We look forward to Pig Day on March 1st here at the Children's Zoo at Brookfield Zoo. Hope you come down for it. We'd like to thank you again for joining us on Where the Wild Things Are. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.